In June 2025, enforcement begins for the European Accessibility Act, which is landmark legislation that requires websites to be accessible for people with disabilities. This law is going to have global implications for websites, just like GDPR did for privacy. If your WordPress plugins or themes are inaccessible, you could be fined, you could lose customers as website owners stop using your products. So the question is, are your products ready for the European Accessibility Act? Find out if this law applies to you and how to make your plugins and themes compliant in this episode of WP Product Talk.
This is WP Product Talk, a place where every week we bring you insights, product marketing, business management and growth, customer experience, product development, and more. It's your go-to podcast for WordPress product owners by WordPress product owners. And now, enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Amber Hinds, CEO of Equalize Digital.
And I'm Zack, Katz, founder of Gravity Kit and Trusted Login.
And today we are talking about getting your products ready for the European Accessibility Act.
And that's why we've invited Rian Rietveld today. Hello, Rian. Thanks for joining us. And please introduce yourself and what you do.
Hi, well, I'm Rian. I'm a freelance web developer of a web accessibility expert from the Netherlands. And at the moment, I work for the NL Design System. That's an open source project financed by the Dutch government. And there I write guidelines and documentation about accessibility. And besides that, I give in-house accessibility workshops to Dutch companies, and I work as a consultant for Gravity Forms and the WordPress agency Level.
Well, we are really excited to have you here today, Rian. Could you, to start things off, I know we said we're going to talk about the European Accessibility Act. I know you're not an attorney. You didn't introduce yourself as an attorney, but
None
can
of
you
us
give
are
us...
attorneys.
Yes, none of us here today are attorneys, but you are an accessibility professional and you're located in Europe, so you're a little closer to it than Zack and I are. For people who've never heard of the European Accessibility Act, what it is, who it applies to, could you give us some background on that?
Well, first of all, the Accessibility Act is not a law, not a European law, it's a directive. And I Googled a directive. And a directive is a legislative act that sets out a goal that UE members must achieve. However, this is up to the individual countries to revise their own laws on how to reach these goals. And what are these goals? Well, all products and services that people use must be accessible. And for example, e-commerce websites. So this applies to web shops, or if you sell services or product online, your website must be accessible for people with disabilities. And well, that's a huge task. At the moment, all the countries are trying to get these directives into law. And by June 2025, they agreed on that these laws will be well enforced. How is unclear. So that will be quite a challenge to get everything into law, and all the different countries maybe implement that law a bit differently. But the goal is to get e-commerce websites, among other things, but that's what we're talking about here, about websites, that they need to be accessible. And what is accessible? Well, it varies, but I think when you're on the safe side, your website needs to comply to the Web Accessibility Guidelines version 2.2, level AA. So 2.2 is the latest version, and AA is the level of accessibility. And that applies for phone services, banking services, e-commerce, websites, mobile services, electronic tickets, all sorts of information, or Airbus, or transport services. But there is one exception, and this exception is for smaller companies. If your company, the website of your company, if your company has a turnover of less than 2 million euros per year, or you have fewer than 10 employees, you don't need to comply to this law. So it's for the bigger companies. But if your plugin or theme will be used by bigger companies, then your theme or your website must comply to accessibility standards. Otherwise, the website owners cannot pick your plugin or your theme. So that's the impact of the European accessibility law. It also says if your company is, for example, in the US or in Australia and you deliver to the EU, then your product must be accessible. So
this
it's
is
not
like
yeah,
same sense.
yeah, that's it.
So whose responsibility is it if you have under 10 employees or under 2 million euro in sales? Is it the company who's trying to buy your product? Is it their responsibility to make sure that your product is,
The website,
or is it
the website owner, the web shop owner is responsible. So if you choose a plugin that's inaccessible and you install it on your website, that's your fault. Of the fault of the website owner, of the responsible of the website owner. You can have an inaccessible plugin, but you cannot also, then that plugin cannot be used for larger companies that deliver products or services inside the EU.
So really, for a plugin and theme developer, even if you are smaller than that threshold of 10 employees, 2 million euros in annual revenue, you could be losing business if large websites and there's already some laws around the world related to government websites or universities, educational websites. But e-commerce stores, so if you're I think especially if you're a WooCommerce plugin developer and you aren't paying attention to this, you could start seeing a drop in revenue if people stop renewing your product when they realize they can't use it on their website anymore.
That's true. That's exactly the point. Yes.
And so how do plugin product owners, theme product, how do you get certified? Is there such a thing as a certification, or do you have an accessibility audit by a professional that says, well, you meet the WCAG 2.1 AA guidelines and you're good, but like, is there a certification that you can get that you can promote and say, we are certified?
Well, what you can do is let another company, just not by yourself, but another company do an accessibility audit. And then you can publish the results on your website. Like, okay, we have like this plugin and we did an audit and this was the result of the audit. There may be points we need to fix and we try to fix that, and you put that in a roadmap. So you tell the state of the accessibility of your product and you monitor it. You can put that in an accessibility statement on your website.
And when you're done with all the, because there are different levels of accessibility guidelines. Like when you're pretty close on a contrast ratio, but you're not quite there. So you like, does any little thing make it so that you don't meet these AA guidelines, or do you have to check off every single item?
Well, to be fully compliant, you have to check off every item. But to be honest, that's super hard.
Wow.
And there's
sometimes
there's always something, and always your plugin is developing, or your theme is developing, and you add new stuff, and maybe there's an issue with that. So you have to monitor it also.
It's an ongoing practice.
It's an ongoing practice. But start with the big stuff first, like color contrast, like alternative text with images. you have to, it's an ongoing process, and start with the big issues first. Address those. And if you have in your accessibility statement on your website, you say, okay, this is the result of the audit, we need to fix that, and we need to fix that, and we're working on it. Then you're open and you say, okay, we are working on it. Then maybe in the next release we'll fix that, and we fix that. Then you're communicating that to your customers. That's, I think, the best you can do, because
So,
yeah.
oh, I was just going to say, and I'm curious if you have thoughts. I'll put a link up so everyone can see it for VPATs. So a voluntary product accessibility template, which you can get off itic.org/policy/accessibility/VPAT, VPAT. And that is something that we have gone through the work of creating for our plugin. And there is an international version where it includes some European standards beyond the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. And you go through each one and you say whether you meet it, partially meet, or don't meet on each thing. And then you can publish that on your website. And I think that is more thorough than a more general. I think an accessibility statement, I'm not saying not do that. I think you should do that too. But
Well,
this is something. Let me ask you this. But I was going to say, in the United States, we have had educational institutions and governments literally tell us they can't purchase our plugin until we give them the VPAT. And I don't know if you've seen the same thing in Europe, or you think that this is going to become a way, like, should all plugin developers be creating a VPAT?
well, it's like a proof that your plugin creates accessible content. That's a VPAT. For a theme, you can also have like that's more for a website itself. You have a WCAG EM report. Then you check every success criteria for a website if it's accessible. And a VPAT is for creating accessible content, and it actually does the same. It checks every success criteria if you comply to that. VPAT is really for creating content, and WCAG AM report is for the front end itself. So these are two different things.
So they might need both, do you think? I'm not as familiar with the
WCAG EM. First you have to perform an audit, check every success criteria, and that's for the European Accessibility Act. That's only for the front end, for what the customer sees. And all those checks you can put in a VPAT, but also in a WCAG AM report. These are the same checks. Only the goal of the report is different.
So one of the things that I want to make sure that we communicate is the question, like, why is this important to product owners? So there's an assumption that accessibility is important, and I think that it's important to to discuss why it's important, and not just for the legal or the frameworks that European governments have put forward, but like what do we mean by accessibility in a deeper way, not just WCAG guidelines and stuff like that. What is accessibility, and why does it impact people who own products?
Well, the thing that always amazes me that products that for products and for websites, people spend a huge amount for search engine optimization to get every visitor to their website, and then they throw away 20% of the visitors because they cannot access their website.
Yeah, so 1 in 5 people around the world have a disability.
Yeah, and they cannot access or properly use the website, so they leave. And they tell everyone, okay, I cannot use the website.
And what do you
So
mean
it's
can't
really
use the
bad
website
publicity.
or aren't able to use the product? Like, what is a disability in this context?
Well, if you, for example, have a web store and the people cannot just finish the whole order process, or they cannot really view what the products are they want to order, or they cannot access the shopping bag because the button for that is not really a button, but only a div that's clickable with a mouse and not accessible with the keyboard. So they have like showstoppers in the process of ordering, or they really cannot see very well and cannot read very well the content because the color contrast isn't right. So they're very uncomfortable using a website, and they rather go to another website they can see properly. So there are many ways people drop out. If you only have icons for really essential functionality, then people may not understand their website and leave because they think, I don't know what to do here. So an accessible website, a really usable website, well-built website is easy to use for people and for all people, and then they can finish the whole product, the flow of ordering. And well, I think if 20% of your people drop out only because the accessibility issues, then that's a huge revenue you're missing.
It used to
Yeah,
be
I
that
think
back
from
in the
an
day that there was a saying that Google is a user. The Google web scraper was a user that couldn't see. All it could do was
yeah, the
follow links and read your text and understand images through the alt text. And so optimizing for accessibility was also optimizing for Google at the same time. I don't know. I assume that Google now has different frameworks for actually like looking at the web page and seeing it visually in a way. But optimizing for accessibility is also optimizing for information architecture and like good UX, user experience labeling. Like what you call things really matters in terms of the clarity for the user. So there are so many different aspects that make your product better beyond only making sure that everybody can use your product and everybody can use your website. It's also enhancing your website by clarifying and reorganizing better.
Yeah, I think the big thing on why does it matter to plugin owners beyond right legal compliance or revenue, right? That's a big one. Most of us are not nonprofit plugin development companies, right? We want everyone to be able to buy our plugins. There are blind or people with mobility differences who have WordPress websites, and they want to be able to purchase plugins and be able to use them on their websites, which leads to some arguments for having the admin interfaces and not just the public sides of the plugins accessible as well. But I think really there's just this overarching, it matters because from an ethical standpoint, it is the right thing to do. We should, especially if you're building, whether it's the e-commerce plugins or calendar plugins or plugins that are frequently used, like a form plugin or something that might be frequently used by a website that gives people access to things they need to live their life, like have a quality life. And if your product, like Rian says, I've done a lot of auditing of different plugins, and those divs instead of buttons or spans instead of buttons, or maybe it is a real button, but it only has an icon in it and it doesn't have any discernible text to someone who cannot see. If they can't do basic things and now suddenly they can't contact their doctor to request an appointment with a form, or they can't purchase food. Sometimes people with disabilities need to make more e-commerce purchases than people who can't because it's more challenging for them to physically go to a store. And if your plugin makes it impossible for them to do those things from an ethical standpoint, I feel like it's really important.
One of the ways that
sorry.
Please go ahead, Rian.
I think ethical is never a good argument because
People
if you really want to push an opinion, it's always you get more money out of it. That's a better argument than, well, it's a good thing to do. But
Yeah.
I agree. Like, it gives people independence. People with a disability, it makes them independent from other people to help them. They can order online and things will be brought to them instead that they have to go to the mall and help with someone else to help them buy stuff. So it gives them a really independent life. So that's a
So,
big bonus.
so Rian, what does it look like if I were to ask you to do an accessibility audit? What can I expect as a product owner hiring an accessibility consultant, an auditor?
Maybe this is a good transition to our story time and sharing a little bit about, like, if you have a specific case study that you could talk about where you've done this for another company.
Well, I did this for Gravity Forms actually, and Gravity Forms was right on time. In 2019, they started with an accessibility overhaul. So they have a huge advantage because they have done all the work already. We started with an accessibility review. Like, I looked at the plugin, I installed every form field, and I looked how accessible it was, if there were issues, and I made a big report out of that. I tried to address all the issues and write down how to fix them. Then I give the team a training. So the developers and the designers and the content managers got a training. I think training your developers and designers and content managers is really key, because they have to understand why it's important and how to create accessible content.
And Gravity
And
Forms
accessible
actually
code.
flew out certified developers, and we had an in-person training with you.
Yeah,
And that was really helpful to get everybody on the same page.
that was just before Corona. It's like a
Yes.
month before Corona. And yeah, that was so wonderful. Yeah. And then I got everybody testing with a screen reader, with keyboard, and then they were confronted with their work. Okay, it doesn't work. We need to fix that. And they were really motivated. I think they were a really motivated team at Gravity Forms. And then we set up a path. So we're going to fix all the issues one by one, and the developers fix it. I did code reviews and reviews on the front end. And one by one, we fixed all the issues. But it's an ongoing process because there's new functionality, and still everything needs to be checked. Is it still accessible? So it's never done. But train your team. Let's do. If I give advice to other plugin developers, do an accessibility review first by an accessibility expert. Get your team trained so that they know how to build and create accessible content. And then keep working on it. So, and you don't have to fix everything in one go. Just take it step by step, because that's the best way to do it. And communicate this with your clients, with your buyers. We wrote on the Gravity knowledge base on the docs, gravityforums.com. There's a knowledge base, and there's also a section about accessibility. Exactly how to install your form so that it's accessible, and also why, and what's important for design, for example, that you inform also your users how to use your plugin or theme, because you can maybe have a plugin where you can create fantastic accessible content with, but you maybe can also, if you choose the wrong colors or you have the settings wrong, make something inaccessible. So you have to also instruct the users of your plugin or theme how to keep it accessible.
Yeah,
it's quite a bit of work. Yeah,
I'll say that's one thing I've been impressed with Gravity Forms, is that in addition to doing that work on the front end and the output of their code, was that they did put the warnings in the admin right where people are creating content. So for example, if you decide not to fill in the label for a field because you want it to only have a placeholder, it will literally tell you this is an accessibility problem. It'll have a red message that looks like an error for the person who's building, which is a thing that I haven't seen any other plugins do yet. And I would love to see more plugins do. I think that's really neat.
Yeah, you have to be able to create accessible content. So
one of my experiences with accessibility in Gravity Kit specifically is I've hired accessibility auditors multiple times, and they've provided an excellent checklist. And for any developers out there who listen to this and hear Rian say that it's a lot of work, it can be, yes, but it also is the most satisfying checklist you're going to ever receive, because it is so many easy to fix things.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to change the color contrast. Let me go to this color contrast checker and make sure and do some different hex codes for the CSS colors. Oh, I need to add an attribute that sets ARIA politeness levels. Great. There are so many easy things as a developer to just check off your list, and it is very satisfying. And it takes, like, let's say it takes a day, maybe it takes a week. It is the most satisfying week you're going to spend, where you can say, well, I'm now accessible. That is a good feeling. And it's really often you don't have to do deep restructuring of things. You just have to put in a little bit of work. So I want to say that it is not easy, but it's not difficult either. So it's a great experience.
I know when we deliver audits, and I'm assuming yours are the same, but if you hire an experienced tester, then they're not just going to be like, this doesn't work, right? Like, they're usually going to say, here's what doesn't work about it. Here's why it matters. And here's what you need to do to fix it. And and there's some really great, like, Mozilla developer docs have great references. There's some different resources on the W3C and things like that. And a good accessibility auditor is going to say, here's how you could change the HTML. Now, they're not going to write your JavaScript for you or write your PHP, but they're going to be like, here's the end output that we expect. And so I think that can help if someone's not experienced with having someone, like, they might feel like, oh, I'm going to have a lot, but that can really help it move faster because you don't have to guess about what you need to do.
And also the HTML aspect of it. Accessibility audits are a great way to find out about HTML tags you had no idea existed.
Like, give an example.
Well, if you didn't know about summary, like
details and summary.
For details and summary, if you're using a different way to structure your FAQ, your frequently asked questions list, and you didn't know that you had an auto-expanding details and summary functionality built into the HTML5 framework, you don't have to do this in JavaScript. It's just in the browser automatically. That type of thing is super revealed to you when you get an accessibility audit, when they say, this exists. There's so many things to know, and accessibility.
Be careful about that one, though, because that is literally what my issue with the 2024 theme is that you should not use the detail summary is only intended for one alone, not for stacks of them.
In the Netherlands, we approve it. In the Netherlands, we approve it in accessibility, but it's a tin of worms. Okay.
Well, then a definition list, even like a DT, a DL, DD, like those. Like there's so many different ways you can accomplish accessibility that in like what's the word, where things are what they are supposed to be. A button should be a button, and
native.
A link should be it's fun exploring. So it's a great way to learn and expand your horizons as a developer. So it's great.
I'm curious, Zack, and obviously you don't have to share like numbers or anything, but when you brought in an auditor, did you find that to be something that was worthwhile from a budgetary standpoint and manageable? And what ideas do you have like for plugin developers that have never done that and they're trying to figure it out?
So I believe each audit was about $1,500, $2,000. But as I understand it, Ember, there might be a plugin that can help. I don't know.
Yeah, well, our accessibility checker plugin can help catch things
And what
It
what
will
plugin is
test
this
other
under?
plugins, but you can't replace automated testing. And we even say this, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure Rian has thoughts about this as well. But I would say any automated test, if you've never done any accessibility testing, starting with that is very helpful, whether you use our accessibility checker plugin or Wave is another resource, or Axe from DQ, which are both browser extensions that have free versions or are free. And that will catch the really obvious things, which honestly, when we do audits, like some of the biggest things, like the empty buttons, empty links, color contrast, sometimes automated checkers miss it, sometimes they don't. But the other thing you need to do, which anyone can do, you don't have to be an accessibility expert, is I always say this, you take your mouse, you turn it off, you put it in a drawer, and you go use your plugin with only your keyboard. And see if you can reach all the things that you would expect someone to be able to reach, or can you tab through them? Can you use the arrow keys? Can you submit forms? Can you purchase things? If a pop-up opens, are you in it? And can you engage with it, or are you somewhere else behind it? So like doing that and just figuring out, can you make it work with your keyboard, is another really great step that doesn't require an expert. And then you can bring somebody in who knows how to use a screen reader, and a native user and user testing, which we haven't talked about yet. But I think that is very important, because the way I test with a screen reader as a screen reader, right, like somebody who's an accessibility expert, is not the same as the way a person who uses it every day is going to use it. And they might come up with things an accessibility tester wouldn't.
I have one remark about that. You can only bring people experience of accessibility, people with a disability in to test your product if the product already is accessible. Then you can see if you can use them, if they can use that. Because, for example, blind people don't see what they miss.
Yes.
So you need to be sure everything is accessible. It validates. And then you can bring someone with a disability in as a user test. Can you actually use this? So you cannot ask someone who is blind, say, is this accessible? Because they don't know what they're missing. So,
yeah, that's very true. Alex Stein and I, who's on the accessibility team, through the official WordPress accessibility meetup, once a quarter we'll do free live streamed audits for plugin developers. And so anyone can watch those, which I think is really interesting to learn from. He shares his screen and goes through it, but we do it together, because I will point out things to him. Because otherwise, if he doesn't even know, because it's not coded as a button and it's not focusable, he might not even get to
that's what
I mean. There. Yeah.
And in terms of building empathy for users who have vision impairments, while you're testing, Amber, you talked about putting away your keyboard, or alternately putting away your mouse. You could also do it on the same, putting away your keyboard. People might need to only navigate using their mouse. But a great way to build empathy is to turn on VoiceOver if you have a Mac. I don't know what the Windows equivalent is, but turn on built-in. Okay. Turn on your built-in screen reader and listen to what your application sounds like when it's being read by a screen reader, because you'll think again about those labels that you have and the structure of your application. You'll notice many themes have a skip to content hidden link for screen readers to skip beyond the navigation menu, because if you don't, that could be a lot of stuff to listen to that they don't need to if they just want to read the blog article. Having something like that in your application could mean the difference between making it easy and making it hard to use. And I just gave an example that might be outdated, but turning on VoiceOver and using it for a day, using it for an hour, will certainly build empathy for all your users who have to use that technology or choose to.
Yes.
So, Rian, what's your best advice for new product owners? Like what's the gold advice that you have to give everybody?
Well, educate yourself, educate your team. Don't go for a quick fix. In my opinion, overlays don't work. Like having like a quick fix, add a button, and then okay, I added the button. Now with someone in a wheelchair, and you click on it, and my website is suddenly accessible. In my opinion, that doesn't work.
And why doesn't that work? Like, it seems like there are whole businesses that are based on saying that quick fix is enough.
Yeah, well, accessibility is too complicated to add it as to fix it quickly in one line of JavaScript.
It's too bad.
Color contrast, good alternative text on images, native elements for like a buttons good. Your design, the logical order of the elements, that someone who reads from the top down actually understands everything. You really need to build accessibility in from the beginning, instead of go for a quick fix. And in my opinion, that's really not the way to go. Yeah. But
well, I think too, if people are concerned about legal compliance, at least here in the United States, I don't know if you have different experience in Europe, but in the United States, it has been shown through lawsuits that overlays don't protect you from getting sued. And typically when they get sued under the Americans with Disabilities Act, if they have an overlay, part of their settlement agreement is that they will remove the overlay. So if anyone is worried about that, or, from a product owner standpoint, right, if you're thinking, well, I don't need to worry about that because the website owner will be responsible, I won't be responsible, and they can just use one of those. I don't really think you can approach it from that way. You really need to think about, doing the best thing for your customer, right? Which is, don't expect that they can just patch it later on. Build your tool in a good way so that the website owner can rely on you and trust you to provide the accessible code.
Yeah, and also if you aren't able to really educate yourself or your team, get some professional help. There are really good companies that can help you. Just get some professional help to do that, and you need to really take care of it and maintain it, and not just say, okay, now everything's accessible, I can let it go. So that's really
like SEO.
Yeah. Sorry?
Right? Nobody says, I was just saying, I always like to draw the parallel to SEO, right? No one says, we SEO optimized our website, we're done now.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you are constantly doing things, tweaking things, the algorithm changes, like all that. And I think accessibility is the same way, like constantly testing, seeing if you can improve. I mean, even in our plugin, I don't know how we missed it, but I noticed this last batch when I was testing one of our more recent releases that we had a skipped heading level on one of our admin screens. And I was just like, how did I miss that? I don't know, but we fixed it because I was like, this is an accessibility improvement. Let's fix this. And so I feel like sometimes you miss things and you have to go back and circle back to them. So,
well, there's a once a year WebAIM performs an audit, an automated test on 1 million front pages of websites. And color contrast is one issue that always turns up, and that's really easy to fix, like color contrast. If your text is too light and you cannot read it, just make it darker. That's not rocket science. Alternative text with images. Well, if you have images on your site and you're selling something and the image says there's a 50% sale and there's no alternative text with your image, well, people who are blind miss that information. So also search engines miss that information. So add alternative text, describe what's on an image. That's not only really rocket science. You can do that too without a complete rebuild of your theme or plugin. And the other is no names with links or buttons. They're only icons, and in the code, there's no really text with that icon.
And
you can do that.
To give a developer, deep dive into that. So you can hide the text. You can have the icon for sighted users, And for people who use screen readers, you can have hidden text that uses the screen reader text CSS class that hides it for people who are viewing visually, but then reads it out loud for people who use screen readers. If you really feel like the text is not necessary for people who are able to see clearly, that's super easy to use. Here, another example is when you open up a tab that goes into a new window, or when you have a link that opens up a new window or a new tab, you want to warn people that it opens up in a new window or a tab. You can hide that text super easily. So these are just items that whenever you add a link, as a developer, I've learned that you add this span with a screen reader text class, and it's super easy, and that makes it accessible, or more accessible. So those are the types of little, from a developer standpoint, little things that you just learn to do, and it's super easy to do once you've learned that that's important to do.
Yeah, and
What's your best advice, Zack? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Rian.
Well, if you fix that 4 issues, you're already better than like 99% of the websites tested. So sometimes, like, taking it step by step, small chunks, will improve your website really dramatically.
My best advice, beyond hiring a security auditor, accessibility auditor, you should also hire a security auditor, but hire an accessibility auditor. If you're not able to, read up on it, learn about it, and do at least do it yourself. Ask a friend to do it. WordPress has so many people who are willing to help out, get you on the right track. Post about it in post status on the WordPress Slack. I'm sure somebody will be able to help you out, and just get started. Make one single change, and that's one change that you hadn't made before, and it's going to make somebody's life easier, and then make another change.
Yeah, so on that, speaking to the asking about it, the WordPress accessibility team, we're holding weekly office hours now that are open office hours in Make WordPress Slack in the accessibility channel, and you can come ask any question. It doesn't have to be about WordPress core. It can literally be, I'm trying to do this in my plugin and I'm not sure how. Yeah. And I think along those lines, my best advice is, we always say, just get started, right? But I think circling back on that is just try using your product without a mouse and see if you can do it, and bring in someone if you're not sure. So,
yeah.
Well, I think we are about at time. It's been wonderful having you, Rian. Can you tell people where they can find you on the web if they would like to follow up with you?
Can I address one other thing? There was a question from Beth Hannon from AccessiCard.
On Twitter.
Yeah. Is the European Accessibility Act only for the front end or also for the back end, for the admin? And I asked it around, and the answer is the European Accessibility Act is only for customers, for your website, for the front end. So whether people can use the front end and the product itself. But if you supply for the government, then the backend may need to be accessible. But that's something you have to agree on in your quotation. But the European Accessibility Act is only for the front end. But
and what about for? Oh, sorry, please.
But it doesn't hold you back to do it. Actually, Gravity Forms adds stuff in, and also makes the controls to use the backend in an accessible way. So you don't have to, but please do. Okay.
What about Section 508 for the U.S. government? There's Section 508 guidelines. Are those for the front end or back end or both? Do you know?
Amber can tell.
Yeah. So like when we did the audit on the NASA website, we audited the front and the back end of the website. And the interesting thing is, so a very small plugin developer might not have to worry about the back end. However, if you are a plugin company, and there are plugin companies there who make more than 2 million euros, and you have a significant number of purchasers of your plugin, it is interesting. Is they're your customers? If Does the
if you
admin
have
apply? I don't know, right? But like at that point, your customers are trying to use your product in their website, but it's your product, right? So I don't know. Like that's a question that we might have to wait and see how that thing plays out. But if you are a larger plugin company with high revenue, I would think about doing the admin as well. So.
Well, if you are, and your own website needs to be accessible too, not only your plugin, but your own website too, if you deliver to the AU.
Yeah, and thinking about, and I know we're starting to go over time and get back into it, but I will say, like on that front, if someone is assessing a plugin, I do this sometimes where I go to plugin demos and I'm trying to figure out, is this accessible? Can I use this on a website that I'm building? And the demo doesn't have focus states.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I know that I can control this in my theme, but it makes it really hard to test the accessibility of the plugin. And so doing the best that you can to make your demo site accessible is going to increase the likelihood that someone's going to purchase your plugin, because your plugin could be perfectly accessible, but if the demo website has problems in its theme, it might make your plugin look not accessible and might lose you customers.
I really like the idea of accessibility as a marketing tactic as well. And I say tactic in a cynical way, but but I loved how Rian was describing the transparency of accessibility audits. I often have felt the shame when I get a transparent accessibility audit. Oh, these are things I should have done. Instead of saying these are things that we're actively working on and we care about and we're doing better every day. Like this is, a work in progress, like everything that one cares about. So I love that idea of taking the accessibility audit, putting it publicly, having accessibility statement, and using that for to say this is where we are for people who are interested in the European Accessibility Act, Section 508. Here's our compliance statement. I love that idea that it could be used for optimization of marketing as well.
Yeah. Well, can you tell us where we can find you online if someone wants to follow up with you, Rian?
Well, my website, rianrietveld.com. When I get older and I kind of hate social media nowadays. So you can find me on LinkedIn, and email is always the safest, rian@rianrietveld.com.
Well, thank you. For everyone who's watching, tune in next week. We're going to be discussing doing what you love and outsourcing the rest with Stephanie Hudson.
And special thanks to Post Status for being our green room where we coordinate these calls. If you're enjoying these shows, please do us a favor, hit like, subscribe, share it with your friends, reference this show in your newsletters, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts if you listen to our show through Apple Podcasts. But most of all, we hope to see you next week. Bye.